Walk on over to Walters this Saturday night to watch the DC Defenders try and capture the UFL championship against the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is at 8 p.m.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
He's got the power. His home run in the first, his 9th. The 2-2. Swing a long drive, left field, way out of here. That one almost to the top of section 104. Augustine Ramirez has another home run, and it's 3-0 Miami. The 1-2 from Enriquez. Swinging a line drive, base hit right center field. Bell's being waved in. The throw from Myers coming home on one bounce, the slide, the tag, and he's in there. Bell scores. Call to third. It's now 8-7 Miami. The Nationals within a run as Ruiz picks up his 23rd RBI of the season, just scoring the hustling Bell on a close play at the plate.
The pitch. Swing and a line drive, base hit through the hole into right center field. Edwards scores. Ramirez around third coming home. The throw will be offline. 2-run score. And over to third goes Otto Lopez. Eric Wagaman comes through with a big 2-run single into right field. And the Marlins have reached double digits with 1 out here in the 8th. 2 runs home. It's Miami 10, Washington 7.
And welcome to Nats Chat along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. As we are recording this installment of the podcast at 1:27 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, we are left to contemplate many things. Among them, when will this Nats losing streak end? And now is at 6 games, Friday evening, Friday the 13th, in fact, appropriately enough. An 11-9 loss to the National League East worst Miami Marlins at Nationals Park in Game 1 of a 3-game series and Game 1 of a 7-game homestand. This was a game that included a 2-hour, 14-minute rain delay. This was a game that lasted for 3 hours and 29 minutes, and this was a game that dropped the Nats to being 30-39 in MLB's 2025 regular season. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to deliver a shout out to someone via this podcast. We have a good shout out coming up later in the show. So the Nats and Marlins on Friday evening combined for 20 runs, 33 hits, 7 walks, and a hit by pitch. This was some game. Now, the Nats had their best offensive game in weeks. It was great to see that, but the Nats pitching was not good, and so marked this homestand against the 2 worst teams in the National League in the Marlins and the MLB worst Colorado Rockies. Got off to quite the start with this game and all that went into it.
If the idea, Al, was to make a statement here in the first game of this homestand and say, okay, what we just went through against the best team in the National League in the Mets, we're going to flip the script on the Marlins and the Rockies, and we're going to use this opportunity that the schedule has afforded us to say, hang on a second, we're going to get ourselves back on track here and become the team that we believe that we can actually be. They didn't come close to making that kind of statement. If anything, this was in the exact opposite direction. And yes, you can look at the offense. You can say, hey, they scored a bunch of runs late. That was great to see for the first time in a couple weeks. But the fact they were in that position in the first place is pretty unacceptable. And let's be clear, they did almost nothing at the plate for 6 innings. It really wasn't until the end. And yeah, it was a lot of runs they scored, and that should be enough to win a game. But you shouldn't have to wait till that point to get started. You really, against a team like this and a pitching staff like this, should have been able to put together better at-bats prior to the 7th inning.
Really rough outing for Mitchell Parker. He in this game allowed 6 runs in 3 and a third innings. Parker gave up 8 hits, which were 2 homers, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. He issued 3 walks. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He threw a lot of balls, 87 pitches, just 48 strikes versus 39 balls. He again gave up at least one run in a first inning. Top of the first, gave up a run. This on a one-out solo homer by Agustin Ramirez to left field for a 1-0 Marlins lead. And Parker in the top of the third allowed 4 runs on a homer, 2 doubles, a single, and a walk, all of which came before he recorded a single out. Parker has had these starts, we know, where he gives up a run or runs in a first inning and then settles down and pitches well. This was not one of those outings. He gave up the run in the first, but then never really truly got going in this game.
No, this was a bad start from the start, and it kept going until he was finally done. And, to me, I mean, you looked up and there was nobody warming in the bullpen until you finally got to the 4th inning. And I think that was pretty telling because, number one, they knew rain was coming, so they probably didn't want to burn somebody up, even though they kind of used up Jackson Rutledge and then tried to bring him back after the 2-hour delay. But it was also this acknowledgement of, hey, sorry, buddy, you got to go out there and pitch, and we're going to have to live through it as you get hit hard and hope you can figure something out and just keep the game within reach. And he really didn't do that. And this was not just about the first inning troubles. This was about a lot more than that. And the numbers for Mitchell Parker are getting pretty ugly. We've talked about the great start to the season, 5 starts, 1.39 ERA, a whip under 1. He's now made 9 starts since then. The ERA is 7.71. The whip is 1.405 in that time. He's had some little spurts. He's maybe had a bad first inning and come back from that. But in the larger picture, you take a step back, there's not a whole lot to be excited about here with Mitchell Parker. And we'll see where this all goes, but it feels like he once again is kind of teetering there on the brink of trying to maintain his job in the big leagues at this point.
Well, you look at the ERAs for 3 of the 5 pitchers currently in the Nats rotation. Trevor Williams, 5.91. Michael Soroka, 5.14. Mitchell Parker, 4.84. That's pretty bad. You have 3 of your 5 starters, each with an ERA at or near 5. And, we've talked about Soroka. He's done some good things, and some of the peripherals for Soroka are good. And Mitchell Parker, he's done some good things. But, it does come down to run prevention. Like, at the end of the day, what are you doing in that regard? And those 3 guys are just not doing particularly well in that regard right now. And even Jake Irvin has an ERA over 4 at 4.21. We have seen some good things from this Nats rotation this season, including the consumption of innings. But the run prevention, I mean, if you're being honest, aside from Mackenzie Gore, has not been great from this rotation.
Right. And I think you're seeing a lot of these guys struggle with this idea of once things start to go downhill, can they stop the bleeding? Can they still turn that into a quality outing? And Parker at times had done that. But I mean, in this case, you give up 1 in the first, you're already behind the 8 ball. You give up another 1 in the second. And then that 3rd inning, 5 straight batters reaching, and there was a loud contact, home run, double, 2-run double. Let's remember who they're facing. This is a weak Marlins lineup. For him not to be able to kind of get it together and figure it out, to have the pitch count be as high as it was in the 80s by the time he reaches the 4th inning, that's just not going to cut it against any lineup, particularly against one that you feel like you should have gone in this with the upper hand against. And instead, there was nothing like that because he was getting hit. He was getting hit hard and was not showing any signs that he was figuring it out.
I actually thought this was a very interesting game with the Nats bullpen. So 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 5 2/3 innings. We had Jackson Rutledge pitching both before and after the 2-hour, 14-minute rain delay. He allowed 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Top of the 4th threw 5 pitches to induce a 6-4-3 double play for the 2nd and 3rd outs. And then he actually returned to pitch after the rain delay, but he, in the top of the 5th, allowed 2 runs on a 2-out walk and then 3 consecutive 2-out singles. Brad Lord did a good job in this game. 2 scoreless innings with 2 called strikeouts. By far, the most frustrating outing from a Nats reliever in this game came from Jose A. Ferrer. The Nats scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th to make this game very interesting. And then Ferrer, in the top of the 8th, gave back 3 runs, allowed 3 runs on a walk and 3 singles. And he later in the inning gave up another single. And then Davey Martinez went to the closer, Kyle Finnegan, to work the top of the 9th. Finnegan did a good job, tossed a scoreless top of the 9th. And I can only think that that was for the purpose of shut down the Marlins, put up a 0. The Marlins pitching is horrible. we're scoring some runs, and maybe we can win this thing in the bottom of the 9th inning. I know Finnegan hasn't pitched a ton lately, but this was his 4th appearance in this month of June, so I don't necessarily get the idea that this was just because Finnegan hadn't pitched in a while, so you had to pitch him. I felt like this was a strategic deployment of Finnegan by Davey Martinez. I found that interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think the feeling inside the Nats dugout was that they really believed they were going to come back and win this game. And you saw, finally, it took a long time, but you saw the at-bats that they were putting together, and the feeling was, hey, if we can just keep them from scoring again, we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to score enough to overtake them. And they came close, to their credit. They did. And I think the Finnegan move underscores that. It was, yes, let's try to put up a 0 right now and give ourselves a shot in the bottom of the 9th. And that's what made the Ferrer inning so much more frustrating. Another example of once things start to go downhill, he could not get it back, could not get it under control. And you heard Davey Martinez speak kind of critically of it after the fact, saying that they've got to get him to understand how to slow things down when they start to spiral like that he's got to focus on what he's doing on that particular pitch, not look ahead, not think, oh, what's this guy trying to do? What's that guy trying to do? Just go out and make a good quality pitch. He is a fascinating guy because when he is on, he is really, really good. And we've seen him do it for some nice stretches now. The problem is when he's off, he is really off and can't seem to find a way to get it back. That's that critical step he's going to have to take if they're going to turn him into the kind of late inning reliever that they believe he can be. Again, against that lineup, your team just finally showed signs of life. They stole the momentum. I'll be honest, at that point after the Nats scored the 5 runs, I thought to myself, they're going to win this game, I think. Except they couldn't, in part because Ferrer couldn't keep the deficit where it was, couldn't keep the momentum on their side, instead it handed it right back to Miami.
You know, there is this concept in baseball, right, of the shutdown inning. And the idea is after you score, don't let them score, shut them down. And that Ferrer did not do that, that the Nats put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the 7th and then gave those 3 runs right back in the top of the 8th. It just was so demoralizing from a psychological standpoint. Watching this game, you're just like, oh, come on. It was crazy how this game played out. 20 total runs in the game. Half of the runs, 10 of the 20 runs were scored from the bottom of the 7th through the bottom of the 8th. You had a lot of run scoring going on in that bottom of the 7th through the entirety of the 8th inning.
Hey, Nats Chat, here to talk about LinkedIn Jobs. You've been hearing the commercial throughout the season, and we'll give you the promo code at the end for our listeners, such as small business owners who want to aim to make that right hire. Let's talk about a bigger business that needs to make the right selection, and that is the Washington Nationals at next month's MLB draft. Keith Law of The Athletic had a mock draft that came out in mid-June, and he has Ava Arquette, the Oregon State star shortstop, going first to the Nationals. Arquette's currently playing in the College World Series in Omaha. The second pick was Liam Doyle, left-handed starter for Tennessee, just ahead of fellow SEC starting pitcher Kate Anderson from LSU. Ethan Holiday, who many have projected to go number 1 to the Nationals, still in high school in Oklahoma, brother of Jackson, son of Matt. He's going 4th, according to Keith Law. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
You set the gold standard for your business. Your website should do the same. Wix puts you at the helm so you can enjoy the creative freedom of designing your site just the way you want. Want someone to bounce your ideas off? Talk with AI to create a beautiful site together. Whatever your business, manage it from one place and tie it all together with a personalized domain name. Gear up for success with a brand that says you best. You can do it yourself on Wix.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit when other lenders say no. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. If approved, applications are typically funded the next business day or sooner. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Fortes an inside target, the pitch home. Swing a high drive, right center field, deep for Wood. Back goes Myers, forget about it. That's off the back wall behind the center field wall. A monstrous clout for James Wood. His 17th of the season puts the Nats on the board at 6-2 Miami. We have not seen many over the years hit the back wall by the garage door beyond the center field wall. That is uncharted territory, folks.
The Nats' offense in this game was good. And with the Nats struggling offensively so much here lately, it was encouraging to see the Nats do as they did. Now, we get it. The Marlins are one of the worst teams in the majors. The Marlins' pitching is not good at all. The Marlins' pitching in this game was particularly unimpressive. But the Nats in this game, a lot of good plate appearances, some big hits. The Nats for the game, 9 runs, 16 hits, 2 walks, 5 for 13 with runners in scoring position. The 16 hits, a homer, a double, and 14 singles. We had that 5-run bottom of the 7th. We had 3 Nats each with exactly 3 hits. Every Nats player in the starting lineup had at least 1 hit. We had the first big game in quite some time from James Wood in this game. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer, a 2-run double, and a single. Wood in the Nats 2-run third, a 1-out 2-run homer on a bomb to center field to cut the Nats deficit to 6-2, 451 feet per StatCast. This was Wood's first home run since May 30th. You know, he had that monster May. His numbers for June, not good, but he had a really good game in this game. And Wood in the Nats 5-run 7th, 2-run double into right center field to cut the Nats deficit to 8-4. C.J. Abrams, he has gotten going to a certain extent here lately. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 3 for 6 with 3 singles. And Keibert Ruiz, good to see him have a good game. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, 3 for 5 with an RBI single and 2 other singles. And he threw out a runner on an attempted steal of second base. But up and down the lineup, just a lot of good production from the Nats in this game.
Well, late in the game, yeah. Again, though, they didn't do a whole lot early in the game. They caught a break when Edward Cabrera, the Marlins starter, had to come out with the ankle issue. You saw him second straight day for some reason that the opposing first baseman kind of left his pitcher in a bad spot to get hurt. We saw it in New York with Kodai Senga, and now you saw it here with Edward Cabrera. That helped them out somewhat, but then they didn't do much against the Marlins middlemen, and it wasn't until they got late in the game. Now, it was great to see that ultimately for them to come through that way. James Wood had his best game in a long time. Nice to see him not just hit the ball hard, but have the results to show for it. That home run in the 3rd inning, 451 feet. It looked like it almost hit off the back wall behind the center field fence, like behind where they store the bullpen cart. I've only seen a handful of players over the years hit a baseball there in a game. I remember Bryce Harper coming somewhat close in that direction. That is elite territory right there. Big night for Wood. Nice to see Abrams continue to put together. And Keibert Ruiz still hasn't drawn a walk in now over 100 plate appearances, which is just remarkable. He did come through in that 7th inning. That was a clutch 2-out RBI single. He kind of needed that one. He had another one in the 9th, or at least get the tying run to the plate. He had been in, I think, 0 for 20 slump. So to come through with 3 hits, even if they were just singles, a nice sign at least for him. He needed that. And Robert Hassel had a couple of singles as well. He had been struggling lately. So good to see all that. Let's see if they can continue it. And can they take what they did late in this game and apply it early in the game on Saturday?
The Marlins ended up using 8 pitchers in this game, 8 pitchers totaling 192 pitches. The Nats in this game, 5 pitchers totaling 210 pitches. We had a total of 402 pitches in this game on Friday evening. And my favorite part about this game is that the postgame concert of Nelly did, in fact, end up taking place. Despite this being a long game, the 2+ hour rain delay, I don't know how many fans were left at Nationals Park, but Nelly performed in the early morning hours of Saturday for those who were still at Nationals Park. Good for him.
He's still performing, Al. It's 1:42 a.m. He is, if you can hear this in the background, he is still going strong. And I'll tell you what, I've never seen as many fans wait through a rain delay here as I did for this one. And I'm guessing it wasn't because they couldn't wait to see how Nats Marlins finished up. I think they had other reasons to want to stay here. Good on Nelly for waiting it out. I don't know what the contract stated, if he had the time and he was allowed to call it off. He stuck it out. He took the stage after 1 a.m. He's still going, as I said, as we recorded. So good on him. Good on the fans who waited it all out. But man, was this a long night. And of course, it happens when they have the quick turnaround on Saturday to a 105 game. A game that was originally a 405 game was moved up to 105 because of the parade taking place downtown on Saturday evening. I think that's among the reasons that, and the concert is why they waited out that delay as long as they did. They knew they needed to get this game in and get the concert off, knowing that they have a limited window to try to play Saturday's game with more bad weather in the area and the parade later on in the evening.
By the way, do you know, is there any kind of like noise ordinance that would have prevented Nelly from performing? I mean, like you said, we're approaching 2 a.m. Eastern on Saturday and Nelly is performing. What if you're a resident near Nationals Park and you don't like the noise? I wonder, is there any legal protection for you in that regard?
I don't know the specifics except to say we were asking during the rain delay, hey, is he still going to come on? Is he still going to perform? And what we were told is as long as there's no more delays with the game, as long as the game doesn't take a super long time, he is still coming out there, and he did. I wouldn't love it if I lived in this area and I was trying to sleep right now, but I will say if you're going to choose to live within the near vicinity of a Major League Baseball park, you better know you're going to be dealing with some late night noise, whether you like it or not.
Hey, Nelly's good, so I'm not complaining. I just find that interesting because there probably are a few people sleeping and they're like, hey, what is that noise? I could have swore I heard Nelly performing while I was sleeping last night. All right, we have a shout out to deliver. This comes from Brent, writes Brent. Happy birthday, Linda, to my partner in life and in the love of baseball from the early days of listening to George Kell and Ernie Harwell, as they called the Detroit games, to learning the lineup of the 68 Tigers prior to our wedding, from nearly bringing our oldest into this world at Camden Yards, wow, to our ongoing Parks, Wine, and Parks trips following the Nats as we visit the MLB and national parks. Life is wonderful with you. Looking forward to celebrating many more birthdays, whether big or small, far into our future. Happy birthday, LWL, from your loving husband, Brent. Very nice, Brent. Thank you for that. Happy birthday to Linda. And I got to tell you, my interest is piqued. My curiosity is piqued by this story of them nearly bringing their oldest son into this world at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. That seems like a story right there, man.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little more. Maybe we'll get a second shout out at some point to find out the deal with that. These are some longtime baseball fans. They're citing the 68 Tigers, citing George Kell and Ernie Harwell on the radio. These are some people who have been following baseball and enjoying baseball for a very long time. Good for them. Happy birthday to you, Linda. And send us another shout out. Maybe when your child's birthday comes up, can you send one out for them and tell us the story? How were they almost born at Camden Yards?
So, look, things are not good for the Nats right now. It's too late into the night to start doing a whole bunch of big picture talk, but this is not good. 6 consecutive losses, big homestand against 2 bad teams. I talked about them 5-2 minimum on this homestand. Well, you're 0-1 so far. So this, to me, is a big game on Saturday afternoon. You cannot lose this series to the Marlins. The problem is Trevor Williams is the Nats starting pitcher on Saturday afternoon. But let's see. Let's see what happens. The Nats bats got going on Friday night. It is a 105 first pitch. Do you think the umpires will, shall we say, be in a hurry to get this game through on Saturday afternoon, given the parade, given the traffic concerns? Who knows what else might be going on in the city with everything that's going down? Might we say a rapidly moving game on Saturday afternoon? I wonder.
Well, if it is, I think it'll be because of the players, because at this stage, it's hard, I think, for the umpires to control the pace of play that much. They are evaluated on everything. You can see every pitch that they call right down to the millimeter. And if they were going out of their way to try to call strikes or anything to make this game go fast, it would get out in a hurry, and I don't think they want to do that. Now, everyone else may be motivated. There's going to be a lot of sleepy people at the ballpark, I think, on Saturday. We'll see how it goes. But here's the thing. You mentioned Trevor Williams. They're going to need length out of him. After already going to Rutledge and Lord in this game, they may have no choice but to keep Trevor Williams going for a while in this one. And you just hope that he can limit the damage against a lineup that you would think he should have some success against. But we saw on Friday night, easier said than done. You can't overlook anything. I said it all along. This is a huge homestand for them, yes, but there's no guarantees for anything right now. The Marlins and Rockies may look bad on paper, but if you're the Nationals, you still have to actually prove that you are significantly better than them. They're now 1-3 against the Marlins so far this year. That's not going to cut it.
We have a website you can check out, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
The righty to righty as House steps to the plate, and the pitch on the way is flared out to right, sinking quickly. Marcy on the move, can't get there. It drops in front of him for a bloop base hit. House aboard with 2 outs.
Running a business can be exhausting. Building your website shouldn't be. With Wix, you can express your ideas, give direction, then leave the heavy lifting to AI. From site creation to branded content and images. Have fun with the details. Customize what you want the way you want. And manage your whole business from a centralized dashboard with expert AI tools. Build, scale, and enjoy the incredible results. You can do it all yourself on Wix.